We already knew No Man's Sky Beyond is going to put a huge focus on VR and multiplayer, but what about other features Hello Games could add? Well, thanks to yesterday's launch trailer and some press details since then, we now know there's going to be more than that for those who aren't interested in either VR nor online. According to Sean Murray's latest announcements, the trailer we got yesterday offered but a small taste of what to expect in the newest update, while earlier in a PlayStation interview, he mentioned that in addition to VR and online, Beyond also comes with hundreds of changes, big and small, and even though this is the biggest update yet, it's by far not the last one, so definitely some very positive vibes over here. Of course, since these trailers are only a couple of minutes long, we'll need to wait for the actual release notes until we find out what is the full extent of the actual update. But until then, let's go over 7 of the most exciting features showcased in yesterday's launch trailer, and also don't forget to leave a like on this video if you want to show your support. Anyway, a lot is going on in the 1 minute long video, but one of the first things showcased throughout it are the new customization options for the player models. There are at least a handful of new face options and other body modifications, such as this owl looking face over here that can be seen in one of the intro sequences and then in one of the previous flashbacks. Then we also have this one with the new head option for what seems to be the GAC race, and finally the last scene with the player hub showcasing at least 2 new options for the GAC race. The GAC over here looks like some kind of a lizard that we don't have currently in the game, so it looks really cool. And then there's also a couple of new possibly Viking or Traveler heads and shoulder armors, though it's really hard to make out the details due to YouTube's compression. Otherwise, not much else is known yet until the patch notes actually drop, like are these new races, did the race system get a revamp, or is it just about new options to pick from for the existing ones? We'll most probably find out more next week as we get closer and closer to the actual release. Now, of course, we couldn't talk about a new update from Hello Games without having more stuff added for base building, which seems to have received quite a number of very interesting additions. Some of the first ones that can also be quite easily missed is this one, and this appears to be a treehouse or some other kind of structure that can attach to environmental props, in this case the tree in question. In fact, even those underwater, like this underwater building over here, appears to rest atop on the rock formation, so this could very well imply that this is just a good placement from whoever built these bases, or a hint towards a better snapping system for the building parts, which is something that many players have requested and would most probably enjoy, especially those who like base building. The interior parts also seem to showcase new stuff, like this robotic arm over here that seems to be carrying a suspended battery, or a fuel canister that obviously fits in the green hole in the wall itself. There are even 2 other such canisters already in the wall, with 2 more sitting on the ground right next to the first traveler, but there could be more. These are just some of the few things that I was able to find throughout the trailer. Now, by far the biggest amount of new additions seem to be in the deployable tech category. At certain times, various types of new tech objects can be seen throughout the environment, most probably set up by other players. The first one is this one right here on the left side of the screen, which many speculated it could very well be a power generator or maybe something where materials get deposited. Then there's a couple more that I can only qualify as resource harvesters, with the first one, for example, being very close to a bunch of trees, which could indicate that this could be used to collect flora resources. Later on, there's an even more interesting one that appears to drill into the ground, by far my favorite. Again, possibly an automatic resource collector or some other kind of power generator. Very hard to tell because at one point it's even connected by an actual pipeline on one of the planets, so whatever this is, it definitely looks important. And finally, this set of alien light emitting devices that kinda remind me of signal beacons, though I think they have different purposes. All of these seem to be deployed at various places throughout the video, which likely implies they'll have a bigger importance than we initially anticipated. Also, I'm pretty sure I saw some cave decorations, such as these wired lights for example, and without speculating too much, this could be an electrical wiring needed to power up the base, case in which power generators would definitely make sense. Something similar to Astroneer is what I'm expecting, which would make the gameplay loop so much more interesting. Coming up next, even though the scale of the environmental changes aren't as big as the transition from Atlas Rises to the next update, there's still a number of very awesome additions over here that many would probably enjoy. First, of course, the vegetation seems to be much larger than before, and the forest area seems to be more packed, especially the trees, which seem to be very big in size compared to the actual player model. There appears to be a bit more diverse color combination, both to the grass level as well as the vegetation and in the space background. The colors aren't particularly new, but this could mean wilder color variations, which might become more common in the new update. There's also some changes to the exotic environments, with some users pointing out to the fact that this exotic planet over here features bodies of water, which wasn't the case before, but my favorite has to be the underwater area, as it appears to go much deeper than before, so hopefully we will get some true abyss exploration in No Man's Sky Beyond. The fifth feature is obviously the spaceship redesign, and this goes further than just a few subtle changes. Some of the biggest new changes to ships are the fact that they appear to be much larger in size than ever before, and this is most likely a change in scale so that it all makes sense in the VR mode, and it could also partially explain why the vegetation, especially the trees, appear so big in this video. It could very well be that the player models were simply shrunk and the camera readjusted to the new height so that it all makes sense in the VR mode. But the most interesting one, of course, is the addition of fully rendered interiors and exteriors. In this scene over here, which is really easy to miss, we can now see the front of the actual ship from inside the cockpit itself, which previously was not the case because it was not fully rendered. So again, one of those changes that really makes sense in the context of VR. On top of this, all of the ships appear to showcase new designs and new part combinations, and one of the first tier 3 fighters can be seen landing right here, and this one appears to have a wing feature that didn't exist before for this type of ship, but of course it is by far not the only one. I was very impressed by the engine front on one of the ships right here, with the tubes coming out, looking really cool, really awesome, and there's more new ships and models throughout the various flashbacks, so all looking very interesting. The next one, if you saw my reaction video from yesterday, you probably already know about the addition of actual mounts in No Man's Sky Beyond, though the technical term here should probably be rideable creatures, because nothing so far in the trailer indicates that we also get to keep these creatures with us and bring them to our bases permanently. But at the very least, it does imply there's now way more interactions with the fauna than ever before. Possibly after feeding these creatures, they will let us players ride them, which I can only imagine how cool it will be in the VR. From the looks of it, almost any creature can be mounted as long as its size supports the player, or at the very least that is what the trailer implies. Nonetheless, I do hope that this evolves into more than just riding, and I would love a feature that lets us collect rare creatures from the galaxy and put them permanently into our bases, something similar to how games like Minecraft lets you farm and use creatures for resources and set up farms. That would definitely be awesome, and it would definitely make sense since cooking is a feature that has been data-mined quite a long time ago. And finally, even though this technically qualifies as a multiplayer feature, this is still most probably going to be accessible at all times, even offline. This is of course the redesigned Space Anomaly, the forefront of all of the new trailers, which we now know to be called the Nexus. According to a recent press reveal, the Nexus is a multiplayer social space where explorers can convene, show off their cool gear, and meet up for collaborative excursions. From the trailer, it looks like you can summon the Nexus in any system you're in, and it is basically a getaway towards an actual player lobby. So anyone in the universe of No Man's Sky can access it by simply summoning the Nexus and entering it, and they will be transported in that lobby, which is quite brilliant if you think about it. It's such a seamless integration and transition, and makes player meetups so much easier and more convenient than ever before. Also, it appears to be huge on the inside, so hopefully there's a lot of stuff to do in there as well. And since we're still on the subject of multiplayer, it does appear that player orbs are pretty much going to be a goner from now on, and everybody is going to have fully rendered character models, including of course their ships, their multitools, and everything they are carrying with them. So definitely exciting stuff ahead. But I think with that we pretty much settled everything that we saw in the new trailers, all of the new features. Obviously wait for the patch notes, as these will drop sometimes closer to the actual release, maybe next week, for a full list of changes. For now, the game looks exciting, everything I've seen so far gets me really hyped up. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, of course make sure to leave a like on it, that would be super appreciated. Subscribe and activate the notification bell for more awesome content like this, and I will see you guys next time.